Hey folks, welcome back to the softwarepeoplesensed.net forums. Let's play Summer School. This is week 2, and this week it's art class, which means that the theme is that we have to play a game based originally off an animation. This can be a western cartoon, an anime, or even an animated movie. As long as it was originally animated to start with, it's fair game. So my choice of game this week is The Adventures of Batman and Robin, released by Konami for the Super Nintendo in 1994, and based off the superb Batman the Animated Series. There are 8 levels in total in this game, and as you can see, we're in the 7th level, Riddle Me This. Not a very imaginative title, but it was actually based off an episode entitled, If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? I can kind of understand why they didn't pick that for the name of the level, because that's a bit of a mouthful. And we're at the end of this level here. The Riddler, in virtual reality form, is zapping the floor tiles of this gigantic chessboard, and we have to try and avoid them as Batman. It's not that difficult as long as you time your jumps, although this bit's kind of tricky. These rook pieces will appear in front of you to block your path, and you have to destroy them. They take 4 hits each. The first one's easy enough. That one you can get killed by if you're not careful, because it seems to go down, well, obviously it goes down no quicker than the other one, but the floor seems to catch up to you sooner. I'm doing a horrible job of explaining myself. I was a huge fan of Batman the Animated Series and its sequel, The Adventures of Batman and Robin, which is what this game took its title from. Isn't that convenient? As I was growing up, so this game seemed like a natural choice to play. Now when this rook, controlled by the Riddler's disembodied floating hand, shows up, you're very near the end of the level. These pawns are carrying spears, which they'll whack the ground with 3 times, and then you can move past them. But here I got a bit impatient because the rook was catching up to me, and if it touches you, you do take a lot of damage. So it was worth taking the hit from the spear rather than taking a lot of damage from the rook. You can actually destroy the rook once it comes to rest, but there's really no point because if you run to the right, it explodes anyway. I'm not sure if you saw that. And the Riddler's so angry, he will now face us hand to hand. But if you expected the Riddler to come down and face us like a man, prepare to be mortally disappointed. Instead, he summons these 2 kings, and now we have to engage in the most dangerous game of chess since the end of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. The kings only have 1 attack. They will hover above you and then try and crush you, but in some respects they're the most dangerous boss in the game, because if Batman gets crushed, it's an insta-kill attack. The strategy to this might seem counterintuitive, but the best way to beat these guys is to actually allow them to trap you in one of the corners of the room. This might seem crazy, but hear me out. Because while you now have much less room to maneuver, you can now actually hit the chess piece twice before it hovers, and it will go down a lot quicker. I think they take 8 hits each in this form. Now once one of them explodes, and you're left with the other king, the Riddler will change strategy a little bit. He'll still try and crush you, but he has a couple of other attacks. For example, he will zap one of the tiles in front of you, and then the chess piece will try and push you into it. However, if you double jump off the chess piece, which you do by jumping towards it and then jumping again, it's like a wall jump, then you can easily avoid that. You can also just jump over it normally, but I find it's much safer to just wall jump off the chess piece. As I say, the events of this level are taken off the real episode, If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? Where, much like in this game, the Riddler traps Batman in a virtual reality world and he has to escape. And I really have to applaud Konami, because they really went to town to make this as realistic to the show as possible. I suppose realistic is not the best word to use for a cartoon, but there you go. And there are 8 levels in total, and each level, apart from the last one, and there you are, the Riddler's down. I do quite like also how I delivered a final kick to his chin. It looked like I kicked him and he went away. Actually, that doesn't happen. As soon as you destroy the second chess piece, he just disappears. But that was kind of great timing. And this is the final stage, entitled The Gauntlet. And yes, because this is a Konami action platform game, that does mean exactly what you think it is. It's a boss gauntlet. Although I do quite like the fact that they had the balls just flat out call it The Gauntlet, so you had absolutely no hesitations that you knew what you were up against. I do kind of like that. I'm actually playing this game on hard mode. Much like Zool that I played last week, hard mode adds a couple of things to the game, or in this case takes them away. There is a password system in this game, but if you're playing on hard mode, that's completely removed, so you have to beat the game in one sitting, which can be very tricky. Also, in easy and normal, you get extra lives when you get a number of points, and this is our inventory screen. You don't need any of the equipment on the bottom, and I find that the spray and the smoke bombs are completely useless against this run of bosses. So Batman shows up in this warehouse then, and our first adversary we have to fight again is the Penguin, or to give him his real name, Oswald Cobblepot III. Now, in the level you fight him in, level 3, and I'm sorry I forget the name of it, but he's planning a bank heist to steal some priceless works of art. You fight him on the roof of the building with a helicopter gunship trying to blast you. But here, there's no gunship, so he is remarkably easy. Then again, he's the first stage of the gauntlet. He has 3 attacks. He will try and stab you with his umbrella, he will fly around with his umbrella, like he did back in stage 3, and also he did that a few times in the cartoon series itself. And his 3rd attack, if you go into the middle of the room here, and then he will try and shoot you with his umbrella, but if you duck down, the bullets can't harm you. This guy is pretty easy. The best strategy, as you can see here, is to just block whenever he goes for an umbrella stab, and then either punch him with a Y button, or run in close and throw him. You'll get into a sort of a stance where you grab him, then you can throw him with the Y button, and that's it! The Penguin is down! The fat man is gone! But that's just one stage of the gauntlet, because, you know, it's called a gauntlet for a reason. Stage 2 of the gauntlet is Scarecrow! Or to give him his real name, Dr. Jonathan Crane, and oh, gross Scarecrow. Big dose of your special gas, that's just nasty, come on! He's also very, very easy. Now, in the level that you fight him in, which is called Perchance to Scream, which is a reference to Perchance to Dream, which is considered to be, by many fans, one of the best episodes of the entire series, you fight him on the wings of an aircraft, and it's a lot more difficult because of the terrain. But here is an absolute joke. You can stun him with the Batarang, which you access with the A button, where you can scroll through your items. I'll explain that again in a few short moments. You can stun him with the Batarang, then jump in for a kick or punch him. Or you can do what I'm doing here and just lure him into jumping over you, and you punch him. And when he gets too far away, you just Batarang him, jump in and kick. This strategy takes a long time, but because this is a gauntlet, you want to get hit as little as possible, because that's always the secret of a Konami gauntlet. And the Batarang, by the way, is absolutely boss, because look at this. I'm actually hitting him, it actually goes past him and hits him on the rebound, and it still counts as a stun. It's kind of a shame that the Scarecrow is this wimpy, to be honest, and there he goes down. It may look like I got hit there, but Batman will always jump backwards after delivering the final blow. It's kind of a shame he's so wimpy, the Scarecrow, because in his redesign in the sequel to the Adventures of Batman and Robin, the New Batman Adventures, he was absolutely terrifying. And now we get to take on our 3rd villain, Clayface, who smashes through a wall in the shining fashion, and actually, if you're standing by that wall when he rolls in, you will take a ton of damage. It counts as an attack. Clayface looks big and intimidating, but again, he's an absolute pansy. He has 3 attacks. If you're all the way across the screen from him, or halfway across the screen from him, he will throw a giant block out of his hand, and you just have to duck to avoid it. He throws blobs of clay at you, and then he turns into a giant wrecking ball and tries to steamroll you. That does a lot of damage to an attack if you get hit by it, but as long as you jump over it, he shouldn't cause you too much trouble. Clayface is a very interesting character, at least he was in the animated series, because he's voiced by none other than Ron Perlman. Yes, that Ron Perlman. Hellboy Ron Perlman. He only makes a couple of appearances in the animated series, although he showed up again in the New Batman Adventures, but this game was not based on the New Batman Adventures, so that didn't come out for another 3 years, so I'm not going to really mention that much. There have been multiple Clayfaces in the continuity of the comics. I almost couldn't get that sentence out then. But in the animated series, he was just one Clayface, Matt Hagen, a former actor who was disfigured in a car accident and was manipulated into stealing a chemical compound, which the villains then put down his throat and mutated him into the monstrous Clayface that you see here. And Clayface can mutate himself into any shape. But he's so easy, as you see here. There you go, he's already down. Good grief. Seriously, the strategy is simple. You just either use your ninja stars on him from a distance, like I was doing there, or jump over, or duck his first lot of clay, jump his second lot of clay, and then kick him. And you can actually take him down for a perfect. I got a little bit sloppy and took a couple of hits, but as long as you've got nearly all your life bar, you're in pretty good shape at this part of the gauntlet. We now have to Batarang over to past this girder. It was exactly as the ninja rope in Worms Armageddon, and because I'm quite an avid player of Worms Armageddon, I can honestly say, hand on heart, that I have never fallen off using that mechanic in that game. Bullshit! Anyway, our 4th villain is Catwoman. Now, Catwoman's relationship with Batman is an interesting one, but first let's explain the gameplay of her fight. She also has 3 attacks, And you fight her first in the 4th level of the game, which is actually just a massively long chase across the rooftops of Gotham City. She fights you there exactly as she does here. I do find that the bosses in this gauntlet are a lot easier, for the most part, than they were in their original levels, mostly because the terrain is different and therefore the advantage they had is now gone, because Penguin's lost his helicopter and Scarecrow is now on a level terrain. So Catwoman's 3 attacks. She will whip you if you are about halfway of the screen across from her, or right next to her I should say. She'll do a sort of a diving claw attack there, which you can either jump kick her out of or punch her, and the third attack that isn't shown here should just slash you. And god damn it! I was one hit away from perfecting Catwoman for the first time ever, and she hit me. I should also mention that this is actually a checkpoint in the gauntlet. If you beat the first 3 villains and then you die, then you'll come back from Catwoman. You won't have to face the whole gauntlet again. But that's the only checkpoint, so even if you die to the final boss of the gauntlet, you'll have to do this again. We're now coming up to our 5th villain of the gauntlet, which is kind of a surprise with this one, considering he was kind of minor in the TV series. It's Man-Bat, or to give him his real name, Dr. Kirk Langstrom. Kind of strange to put Man-Bat in here, and also, Man-Bat didn't talk at all in the series. Well, he did as Dr. Langstrom, but when he was transformed into the monstrous Man-Bat, he didn't speak at all, he just screeched. Man-Bat will fly into the foreground, Mode 7 style, and you can actually punch him there, and then he will try and attack you by swooping in. He's very, very easy. These bosses are not that difficult on their own, but combined it can be a real challenge, especially if you try to take him down on hard mode in 1 life like I'm trying to do. As you can see, you get 2 punches to the foreground. If you use the plastic explosive, which is another item that Batman can use, you can actually get 2 hits off on him. It will hit him twice, which is nice. And look at that! Man-Bat is already down. We beat him so hard, we rearranged the syllables of his name to make him be known as the Batman. Wait, that doesn't work, because we are the Batman. But seriously, it's kind of strange that he was chosen to be the penultimate villain in this gauntlet, because he only appeared in 2 episodes of the series. And he was only the villain in 1 of them. Harley Quinn shows up next, but sadly we don't get to fight her, which is a shame, because Harley is one of my favourite villainesses of all time. Now I'm afraid Harley's only here to introduce our real final boss. Of course, it can only be the Joker. I mean, come on, it's the final stage of a Batman game. Who else were you expecting? And bizarrely, Mr. J, to use Harley's nickname for him from the TV series, flies in on a jetpack of all things, and that's what he needs just to battle you in this final boss fight. Although, it didn't appear in the animated series, but it did show up in the animated tie-in movie The Mask of Phantasm, and yes, I just took a cheap hit off the bat, but that's the only hit I'm going to be taking, because this is, for a final boss of a Batman Konami game, this is just pathetic. His only attack is to fly at you, and all you have to do to rebuff him is to stand in the middle and press the punch button when he comes towards you. And if that doesn't sound easy enough, you will turn around automatically when he comes flying towards you. You don't need to turn around manually, it will do it for you automatically. Like, come on, this is the Joker. I know there was the big 4 Batman villains are the Riddler, the Penguin, the Joker and Catwoman, but no, he is the #1 Batman villain. If you say to someone who is Batman's top villain, they always say the Joker. He does have a second form, but unfortunately, he just fights you exactly like he did in the first level of the game. Yes, the Joker is both the first boss and the last boss of this game. He has 3 attacks. He will lob grenades at you, that's actually new. And I'm kind of surprised I got a throw-off on him there, because while you can throw any of the bosses in this gauntlet, with the exception of Man-Bat and Clayface, and also Catwoman, because you will pick her up and she'll just kick you in the face, you'll take damage, I'd never been able to throw Joker until recording this fight. And apart from that, he's absolutely pathetically easy, because he'll just jump around trying to punch you. And you can just use the exact same strategy you did for the Scarecrow. Just walk up to him, punch him in the face, rinse and repeat. This is the final boss of a Konami Batman game. Do you see what I'm doing to him? I should not be able to do this to him, but I am doing. Oh yeah, and the plastic explosives? Turns out they also hit the Joker twice, just like they did for Man-Bat, making this fight go even quicker. Okay, I jumped into a punch there, but at this point I was kind of taking a few hits just to make this more of a challenge, and always to give the Joker a fighting chance, because he wasn't going to get a fighting chance otherwise. Somewhere in the world, Mark Hamill is sitting on a chair, shaking his head in disgust, that Konami dared to portray one of the greatest villains of all time, and one of the most famous characters he ever portrayed, as such a joke! Joker, you call yourself the Clown Prince of Crime. That's an absolute laugh, buddy. You just went down to the fist of the goddamn Batman in just about 2 minutes flat. I did quite like that backflip the Joker performs when you hit him for the final time, though. I was kind of hoping to stun him and do a jump kick to finish him off, because that would look even more stylish. But you know what? I'm happy with that. I just beat the final boss gauntlet of the Adventures of Batman and Robin on one life. And people say I'm not good at video games? Are you sure about that? Wow, I'm getting kind of egotistical. I've beaten one game and I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So on that bombshell, this has been week 2 of Let's Play Summer School. I hope you all enjoyed it. And join me next week. Till then, this is Reniac, smugly signing off.